Okay, again, good morning. Hello, okay, perfect. Okay, good morning. First of all, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. So let me introduce myself. I am Jaruan Misic from University of Luxembourg Competence Center. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the webinar on the title of OPC UA, Interoperability from Sensors to IT, including CRA-Security, status, and trends. So this webinar is aiming to be the part of the skills and training in L-DIH project that aims to leverage skills in manufacturing and industry sector available in Luxembourg and Great regions. So today we're going to have Stefan Hoppe with us, who will give us the talk in an interesting title that I mentioned earlier. Before his talk, I will say good morning to Stefan Hoppe. So he's here with us, finally. We have some issue with the technical problem, but now he's here. So before his talk, I would like you to learn a little bit how to send the questions, to on the click meeting. So basically on the chat, you can ask the questions, just type the questions on the chat. And then when the Q&A session is open, we can post, your questions for Stefan to answer. So now, before we get into the talk, so let me talk a little bit about our project. So here, our project is L-DIH, is Luxembourg Digital Innovation Hub. So we are providing one-stop shop digital support for the industry. So our mission is to support Luxembourg's manufacturing companies, industry in digital transformations. And we are focusing on the Industry 4.0 when innovation matters. So we are creating the national platform to bring all the requirements and solutions together. So we have the website, DIH.lu, that you can see all the list of the services, that are available in this project. So we try to enlarge the DIH network. So we are trying to inform about the digital innovations to the companies. Basically, we are focusing on the SMEs. We try to inspire them to use the digital transformation, and we try to engage them into our community. So the next slide before the talk, we have the list of these services. Digital maturity assessment that is provided by the University of Luxembourg. So we have also the cybersecurity maturity assessment by the Luxembourg House of Cybersecurity. So we have the digital skills assessment and digital industry trainings catalog that are provided by us, University of Luxembourg Competence Center. So we have digital roadmap support, investment support, and L-DIH market place support by Lux Innovation. And last but not least, we have the service, for the test before invest from list, the institute to do the institution to do the have a test before invest facilities. So next, we're gonna meet with Stefan Hoppe. So here his biography. Stefan Hoppe has served as the president and executive director of the OPC Foundation since November 2018. Beginning in 2015, he coordinated the global expansion of OPC into the Internet of Things and Industries 4.0 as a vice president. Since 2010, Stefan has also been the president of OPC Europe, playing a key role in establishing partnerships with other industrial consortiums. This collaboration has led to the formation of OPC working groups that develop companion specifications for various organizations' information models. For example, in 2008, he initiated and chaired the PLC Open OPC UA Companion Working Group. These results have been adopted by numerous well-known vendors in both industry and manufacturing. So now we hear Stefan, the floor is yours. So here we go.
Thank you so much for the introduction. And I try to share my screen here now. I am sharing my entire screen, and this results in. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Then I should do it like this. Okay. That person on the picture is really me. It's just that I'm now with a little bit longer hair. It's a competition with my kids, so but the rest is fine. It's a pleasure for me to present here. I'm here in Germany at the ACHEMA trade show, the world's largest show for the process industry. But let's go quickly through some slides. I prepared a lot of content to give you as best overview as possible. And by the way, I shared the slide deck already, so it will be shared with you and the attendees here. One slide only about the OPC Foundation. The OPC Foundation is an international non-profit organization. What we deliver is an IEC standard 62541, and to think about a little bit, well, and everything what we deliver, the O from OPC Foundation stands for openness. Everything what we deliver is openly available. All specifications, once they are released, they are open available. You do not have to be a paying member. We have a lot of open source code, sample code. We have an OPC stack as open source and so on. And even we decided that the labs, if you build an OPC UA enabled product, either with a toolkit, commercial toolkit, or based on open source, you can go to the OPC Foundation lab without being a paying member of the OPC Foundation. You have to pay the lab engineer for sure, but that's, yeah, for sure. Well, what are we doing? That's a big question. And the vision really is here, we want, in a secure and reliable way, exchange information independent from any vendor, independent from any market and domain, independent from any programming language. And we want to share that information scaling from the sensor through all the levels in the automation world to the cloud, and even inside the cloud and back, obviously. By the way, that I listed secure, reliable here first is not by accident. It is really what is most important. Interoperability is nice, and everybody, I believe it's a key also for the digitalization. But if something is not secure, then it has no value. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. From the 990 members, round about 60%, I have to upgrade this slide here, 60% are from Europe. It started as a US-based, the headquarters in US, Scottsdale, Arizona, 20 years ago. And the majority of members have been from North America. But it has moved significantly because of the huge efforts of Industry 4.0 and so on. I like to mention that we are also extremely proud on our IP policy, because the IP policy is not only protecting the members to each other, all members sign that they are also protecting all integrators and users who are not a member of the foundation. So there is something like a patent protection umbrella, which is really key here. So who are the members of the OPC Foundation? In the left upper corner, you see more the who is who of the industrial automation supplier
Hello,
chain.
Stefan. We have also your video sharing on the screen. Will you be able to hide it?
If you tell me how to hide it, then I'm able to do it. I don't know how to do it.
Or
There's no.
can you
I
move
can,
it
I
on
can move it
another
down.
screen?
I'm only in a hotel. I only have one screen. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So now it's
I
going down.
can
Yes.
move it down here. So is that
Yes.
okay?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So the who is who of the OT companies are a member of the OPC Foundation. I'm not naming them, but Siemens is the world's largest automation company, Amazon, ABB, and so on, around the world. But specifically here is a unique situation that also, and that's what you see on the right side, also IT companies, Microsoft, Alibaba, AWS, Google, SAP, IBM, Huawei, NT Communications are a member of the OPC Foundation. And now remember, all these patents, what I mentioned before, all these patents come together and nobody of them is able and all of them sign to not sue somebody. That's the world's largest patent protection umbrella. There are a lot of more end users, what you see in the bottom. I just started to create the slide a little bit before. So Procter & Gamble has recently joined the OPC Foundation, Volkswagen, L'Oreal, Equinor, BMW, and a lot of more. So what is OPCA and what is our aim? And first of all, we have to understand a little bit the history. Even I assume most of the attendees are much younger than I am. So I started my first job 30 years ago. And at that time, we were talking about the communication pyramid, what you see on the left side. And there has been a de facto protocol for each of these layers. And sometimes you had competing protocols, but the world was more focused on protocols to exchange data. And with OPCA, we do a transition into an information network because we believe that protocols have less relevant. We need them, sure, but have less relevant for the digitalization of the world. We need the semantic. And so OPCA is a framework where you first define the semantic, the meaning of data, and then you are able to exchange this information via different protocols horizontally inside the automation world, but it bubbles up to the cloud and even between cloud systems. The beauty of OPCA here is that you can bypass layers. The information doesn't have to bubble up like in the communication pyramid from one level to the other and another layer. A sensor can talk to the SCADA system, but in parallel or instead also directly push data to a cloud system. So that's our big picture, overview picture. The semantic, and I will talk about that later on a lot, is what we define with about 85 partners. But again, important to realize here, OPCA is not a protocol, or let's say it's much more than just a protocol. It's a collection, like a collection of Lego bricks. Each Lego brick has a dedicated purpose for modeling, for describing something, but also for the transport, yes. And we can transport the predefined payload over TCP, UDP, MQTT, and other technologies which are also coming up in the IT infrastructure. And I will talk more about that. So again, 30 years ago, how did we exchange data? It was that we humans thought in how CPUs are thinking. And then we met between two companies. Okay, I have to exchange information with you. What kind of protocols do you provide? What is it overlapping with my number of protocols? If you were lucky if there was a protocol, otherwise somebody had to implement something. And then two human beings agreed on a, let's say, more personal one-to-one relationship on if I flip bit number 11 in the offset word 1, this means that the pump is starting to work. And this agreement, again, was to agree on the meaning of data. And obviously, it was not easy to scale to other projects. And over the years, obviously, there was a wish the machine should help us human beings in our language, and the machine should provide a self-description to reduce the engineering efforts. And this obviously happened. So today we have a lot of assets, and here's just one example of a robot, that the robot is describing his services and skills. And this self-description is heavily reducing configuration. But more important is that not every robot company is providing his own definition of skills and own description of capabilities. Instead, all robotic vendors agreed on one information model to describe whatever kind of robot. And today, the OPC Foundation is hosting about 150 of these domain-specific information models. And I believe that's the key for the digitalization. This is the semantic where we agree on, and that's key for the future. By the way, we know this already from our personal life. On the left side, everybody maybe has a printer at home, and the printer has a standardized communication interface via USB, via Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. So maybe multiple communication channels. But if you plug in this USB into your computer, whatever computer, from whatever vendor, hardware vendor, and whatever operating system is running on, Windows, Linux, iOS, and whatever, there's a profile exchange behind the curtain to figure out I'm a printer. And even having standardized communication, a standardized interface for communication, this does not mean that the devices, the assets cannot differentiate. You have double-sided, double page printing, color, non-color, and so on. And this is exactly what you have on the right side in the industrial world. OPC UA is the kind of USB connector, not on the USB cable, obviously, on different transport mechanism, but you have profiles, the domain-specific information models. We have built-in security by design, much more than USB, and it's reducing heavily engineering costs and so on. So let's dive deeper in this. Last year, we realized by accident, in November, providing this journey, the history of OPC UA, that we are celebrating the 20th anniversary. So I was also surprised. So we missed a little bit of marketing opportunity here. But what I figured out is, and that's also a clear message here, the first working group meeting was held in early November 2003. And the first OPC UA specification, version 1.00, has been released in the year 2006. By the way, I had the pleasure to provide the world first OPC UA enabled product at that time in a PLC. 30 years ago, I started at Backhoff Automation. So that was the world first product integrated into a PLC in the year 2007. The message of this slide is instead that over the last 18 years, it's meanwhile even 19 years, there has been upgrades and enhancements on OPC UA. So today we are running version 1.05, but we never break stability and backward compatibility. And that's a quality what industry needs. Because remember, devices in a factory, specifically in the process automation world, are there forever. They are there for 20, 30, 40 years. And these quick changes on interfaces and data types and whatever, what we all are aware from more the IT world, because they are much more agile, they can roll out an update much quicker, is not what the world is in the industrial automation world. These kind of devices run 24/7, and they should run the whole year. And there's only a very short maintenance update. So you cannot do software patches quickly, daily, and so on. I'm not diving here into everything, but OPC UA specification from begin has been very modular in layers where one layer is independent from the other layer, and the layer above doesn't realize what happened, what is changing below. And that was definitely one of the success keys, because that's now growing on, and there are coming more and more stuff together. But 105 is complete, and it has been finally released end 2023. So a little bit again, what is OPC UA? It's the definition, as mentioned before, has been 2003 to 2006. It has been in a super short time being accepted as an IEC specification within just 2 years. And OPC UA is not only, so I'm asking again to open your mind, it is not only the last mile to communicate to assets, to physical assets in a factory world. It is always that somebody is exposing data and somebody is consuming data. And obviously you can even do both inside one asset or in one service, where you consume data but also expose data. And this can be between devices horizontally, it can be between device and IT, but it can also be between IT systems. And so it's all possible. It's platform independent from operating system. Security is built in by design. It has a very generic object model. It is type safe. It has an extendable type system also. We can scale it through profiles. Yeah, today there are a lot of there's open source available, but also a lot of toolkits. No membership required to implement OPC UA. There's no fee to the OPC Foundation, no runtime fee. Certifications for members, non-members, and I mentioned the IP policy already. I'm talking in front of academic people, so it's getting a little bit more deeper here. OPC UA is everything what you see in the blue box. And again, what I mentioned is we are starting, or you are starting, if you like to use it, on the information model layer. There we have OPC UA is a meta model, modeling language, and you can describe your service and what you like to expose. And then we have inside already packages for live data, for historical data, for alarms, conditions, for state machines. So programs is what we call state machines. And once you have done that, automatically you have 2 more layers inside OPC UA packages that and you don't have to take care on that. It's already there. It's a communication model layer, which is providing you either a client server one-to-one communication, where the client can connect to a server, he can browse the namespace, read and write variables, he can invoke method calls, he can set subscriptions. But also on the right side, we have a publish subscribe mechanism where you can do one-to-many or many-to-one scenarios for communication, multiple hundred devices pushing data to the cloud, or one sensor in the factory sharing information to a lot of listeners. And all this is completely independent from any protocol. This is a protocol binding layer below. And so that's why we can exchange the information, the payload, over different protocols like TCP, UDP, WebSockets, in different bindings in JSON and binary, MQTT, and so on and so on. And this is extendable, and that's great. What you see on top, the green model, the green box, is something where other associations on the market, other multipliers, the union of robotic vendors, for example, say, oh, wow, that's great. We take this enabling OPC UA blue box, and we define our information model for robotics. And last but not least, vendors also have the possibility to extend on top of the standard. Just as an example, the robotic company KUKA is on top of the robotic information model, providing their KUKA specific extensions, where they can get much more details about their KUKA robot, but that information is hidden through security policies, so not everybody is able to see that. So Again, this is at a glance. I talked already about modeling, transport. I will talk a little bit more about security. I mentioned already the independent part here. I mentioned that OPC UA is IEC. It's an IEC ISO standard. I have to update the slides because we are more than 990 members. The board of directors is voted democratically. This is also different. You cannot buy in and put just a lot of money on a table. You have to convince people that you are the best to be on the board of directors. And I'm proud that OPC UA has been become a local standard in a lot of areas in the world. It's also a local Chinese standard, but also Singapore, Korea, and even in Russia. Normally, I was planning a Russia travel, but obviously, with the circumstances, I did not do that. Okay. One more information: robustness, reliability. There is a heartbeat inside the stack. Each message which is exchanged has a unique sequence number. So even if you disconnect the physical cable for transmitting, both sides, the sender, the receiver, immediately realize we are disconnected. The sender can buffer information if you have configured that before. And once you have re-established the physical connection, the client realizes how many messages, packages were missing and can ask the server, please resend. So in short, a disconnection of the physical transport layer does not mean that information gets lost automatically. Really cool. Let's talk a few minutes about security. I try to keep it short. Overall, there are three pillars about security. Security is built in by design from begin. It's not only the transport layer with confidentiality and integrity and application authentication. It is also on application layer who is allowed to browse in the namespace to see what kind of variables and offerings are available, who is allowed to read or write information. So you can hide information that nobody is visible, but somebody who is able to execute something can execute something. That's really fantastic. And we have a central and decentral certificate management for that's also available. And this is for also secure onboarding of devices. So a device is connecting to we call it the GDS, the Global Discovery Service, and the Global Discovery Service is able to roll out new updated certificates and so on and so on. We have 25 plus security experts. They meet weekly for reactive and proactive activities. We are spending part of our member money. That's the only income we have, member fees. And to be very transparent here, roundabout the OPC Foundation has a budget in this year of about $4.5 million US. To give you an idea what the impact is behind. A little bit of that money we are spending for hackathons where industrial hackers try to break into systems. And the last 5 years, they have not been able to do that when the device has been correctly configured, obviously. We described, we do guidance. So everything what you need to configure at a device is shrink down to one single page. This is what you see in the upper right corner. And we are proud that the German government, the security department, analyzed OPC UA twice, meanwhile, because of the relevance for the German industry in 2016 and now in 2022. The France government, I have been in Paris a couple of weeks ago. The ANSI over there also analyzed OPC UA. I know that Norway experts analyzed this also. And last week we had an OPC UA security 2-day meeting because of the Cyber Resilience Act, which I'm talking later on. And also the FBI have been inside the room and made a presentation. So we are also in contact with them. Overall, again, more a CEO slide here. There are so many functionalities, but an OPC UA server does not have to provide all of that functionalities all time. it's like a Swiss knife. You can have a Swiss knife with all these tools, and even the tool is very rich. You can do very simple things with that, but you can also say, okay, my functionality is just I'm a gateway for OT to IT transport and information models, and I'm reducing the capabilities here. And so you can say a PLC behind the inside the factory floor might not have a REST interface because the IT is not directly accessing a PLC. And edge devices definitely will not have time-sensitive network deterministic real-time capability. I believe not. And for sure, data spaces and digital twins in the cloud, you cannot communicate with TCP and UDP in the cloud, right? But obviously with REST and OPC UA or MQTT and file transfer. Okay, so that was more basic introduction. Let's dive a little bit deeper into some areas, and I try to speed up. As mentioned, OPC UA is not a protocol. It's a rich modeling language. It has flexible transport included, and it has security included. And so this fits to 3 layers. The first layer is inside the automation world. The second, what I'm talking later, is between the operation technology world, the factory world, and the IT world. And then third is inside the IT world, between digital twins and so on. So OPC UA is even becoming, well, I start again this statement. Today, a lot of these controllers in a factory world cannot directly talk with each other. So, which means you walk into a factory, and then the robot with a specific ecosystem, with a Siemens PLC and Profinet, is doing a fantastic job, but the next machine next to it is equipped with a Rockwell PLC and Ethernet IP, or with a backup controller with EtherCAT, and these cannot talk directly with each other. And so this has changed now. The OPC Foundation has closed this gap. It's unbelievable that more than 300 experts from these over 60 companies within 4 years worked on a solution which is including deterministic, safety, motion, I/O, and instrumentation. It's unbelievable to get this huge number of competitors together to one table, and in peace together do something which is making the world better, and it makes me really proud. So the first step has been horizontal communication between all these assets, and the next step is to go down from the controllers into the sensor level and so on. You see here the demonstrator. It is up and running. They are working. You can configure who is exposing data, who can subscribe data. They agreed on the same information models to exchange all these informations. That's really fantastic. It is not only factory automation world. Again, I'm here at the ACHEMA 2024 in Frankfurt, and you see that the brown colored device in the right lower corner is I think it's a flow meter, or it's a kind of a measurement device, and it has already OPC UA over UDP integrated. It's via Ethernet APL. Ethernet APL is power and data on one cable. And so you see now you can integrate that in super small devices. There's OPC safety spec available. People have started implementing that. I'm just naming here without diving much deeper. Okay, and here also I named this already. We started the second phase. Now it's controller to device and device to device. Talking about edge to cloud. So we are talking now about the number 2 here, about OPC UA over MQTT. And I combined it already with topic number 3, because somehow it is more related to the IT world. So this package of slides is now about number 2 and 3. And just recently, let's say what we did for the field world, where all the competitors of the field came together and solved something. Now we are doing the same with the cloud initiative. So we are building the industrial cloud interoperability standard, and you see all the fantastic companies supporting this: Alibaba Cloud, AWS, Huawei, Microsoft, SAP. Honestly, when I started that, well, I mentioned that I did the first OPC UA server in the world. Honestly, I never thought that OPC would grow that much into the IT world, and that even these companies agreed to do something identical, that you have something like a USB connector to cloud systems. Honestly, I never thought this would happen, because these are so big giants that everybody of them can say, you have to accept my standard and that's it, right? Who are you? But here you see that if the industry comes together and you build this huge ecosystem, a huge ecosystem can influence these big players, because the huge ecosystem, if they have the same connector USB, then this USB connector is also interesting for them. So what are the goals here? Number one is we want to establish a standardized OPC UA over MQTT. Honestly, we have that already. And I believe this also will be used by others like Metaverse and industrial twins and DataSpaces. We will create a cloud reference architecture for sure, which is also taking care on Data Act and Cyber Resilience Act. What I'm most proud of is the topic number 3 here is, and until now I didn't introduce the OPC companion specs, not in depth, but think about, I was introducing them about the robotic information model. The robotic information model can also be a pump, a motor, an auto ID, an RFID reader. It can be a commercial kitchen equipment like a coffee machine. For all of that, we have exactly a so-called domain information model. That's what we call a companion spec. And the big challenge is that till now, most of the cloud vendors are destroying the context of the information, because they tell us they know better how to store data in the cloud. But once you have lost the context, you are no longer able to run machine learning, artificial intelligence, and really cool stuff to get more insights out of your data. But by the way, there is one cloud supplier who is keeping the context. That is Microsoft Azure with their Data Explorer, and all others agree to also now do this. I mean, this is a dream of all end users, of the end users in the manufacturing and process industry and energy world, that they can keep what domain experts have defined, and they see this one-to-one again in the cloud. And we want to create a protected identity that nobody can just say of the cloud vendors, we are just providing a little bit of this, what we like, and the other stuff we don't like. So there will be validation and certification program, and you can only say, I'm supporting OPC UA CX Cloud Exchange if you have fulfilled everything. So there will become a lot of pressure to these cloud suppliers, and that's the market. I have no time today here to dive into all the other working groups what we have with OPC UA and cloud already. I took one slide a little bit for everything. For example, the OPC UA over MQTT transport. Everybody from you, I assume, would say, well, MQTT is a default mechanism, the de facto standard for transferring data to cloud and IT systems. And hey, I fully agree. But the challenge with MQTT is it is not defining the payload. So really innovative companies, Siemens, Beckhoff, Phoenix, Vago, they all integrated MQTT in their PLC controllers. And when you tell them, please publish the variable temperature 1 with the value 42 as a solution for everything, then you would receive 4 or 5 different JSON encodings, and you always have to make a decoding on, this is a Siemens decoding, this is a Phoenix contact encoding, and so on. And with OPC UA over MQTT, we are defining the payload. And this has been implemented already by Microsoft and AWS and Alibaba Cloud. And so all of these vendors can just push OPC UA over MQTT data, and you do not need to do anything else. The data are immediately directly in dashboards from these cloud vendors. So we simplified the IT integration dramatically. We are not only supporting JSON format, also binary format. Both has benefits and disadvantages. With JSON, the cloud people can immediately decode it, but everybody can read your message while it's flying through the MQTT brokers and so on. And with binary, you have a higher package. You can encrypt it. Nobody can see your message, but somebody has to unformat the binary part. Okay. I mentioned before, there's no cost license fee. All specs are open, and that's fine. OPC UA for the Metaverse. Obviously, this is a group which has started, which has finalized already. All results are available as open source, so you can buy a 3D model from somewhere. We have a converter putting it into our world, and then you have your virtual glasses on, and then from the virtual world we have the connection to the physical world, obviously via OPC UA over MQTT, and we have made a showcase of that before. We started an OPC UA for artificial intelligence working group. I'm not reading here the 4 bullets. So if somebody is interested to join, please contact me. AI obviously will change all of our life if we want or not. In earlier days, we could select on our own, do I want to be influenced? Do I want to have a cell phone or not? You can still have no phone or an old one, right? Do you want to have a computer? But AI is affecting all of us. And there's even right now, sometimes we are creating domain-specific information models with help of AI and chat GPT. And it is not a perfect result. It is, for example, for a wind turbine, it was about an 80% great result. But even having 80% nicely specified in an OPC UA spec format is reducing your time dramatically, and the experts can figure out how to make the 20% better, right? So AI is helping a lot, for sure. Talking more about digital twins and this stuff in the year, and maybe it's a little bit small, but I will tell you what it means. On the left side in the digital twin box, you see a physical robot. Again, the robot is the example. Feel free to think about whatever asset. It's an OPC UA server loading in specific domain-specific information model. And with OPC UA, you can just create another instance in the Azure cloud, and that's a digital twin, also having, well, the full information model or just a part of the information model. I believe well, I think it's about the application. Maybe it doesn't make sense to have completely 100% of information, but who knows? But that's a digital twin, and the communication is via OPC UA over AMQP or over MQTT, and it's available as open source. We cooperated here with the Digital Twin Consortia, and that's a project of the year 2022. Last year, 2023, we made something what you see on the right side, because there is coming up a lot of regulations from the European Union about the so-called digital product passport, which is the umbrella of a lot of passports with specific purpose. For example, one of the passports is the product carbon footprint report or the digital battery passport. So, which means we want to save the world. There's too much CO2, and products with high CO2, I assume, will get a higher tax in future because of that high CO2. And to realize which products have a high CO2 footprint, you have to make a report. So if you sell a robot, you have multiple parts, and each supplier of that metal part, the motor, the wiring, has to report his carbon footprint into that carbon footprint report. And if you offer the robot, you have the summary of everything. I explained a little bit easy, but you got the idea. So the digital product passport is becoming a mandatory regulation. The digital battery passport is already accepted, will be governance in the year 2027. And so we made already this prototype with the company Huawei. because they are also a super huge battery producer of the world. And because of our powerfully framework, we implemented the digital product passport and the asset administration shell within 3 days inside an OPC UA server, and the battery passport within 3 hours. The reason behind this, we did not define the semantic of the battery. This has been done by a different group. We only had to include that, import that into our server, instantiate that, and so on. Again, all what IT people are crying for, what they're looking for, I need file transfer. Whatever file, directory server. This is available since 2012. We have a REST interface to access everything since 2016, and OPC UA MQTT is there since 2018. Quickly, certification, of course. We will run a little bit over time, but I think I started also a little bit later. Certification, obviously, we have a certification lab. You can test your product. For sure, you get this QR code. People can scan that. We are providing a compliance test tool free of charge for members. But even if you are not a member, you can buy that once for $1,000 only. And it includes about 1,800 test scripts. And you can test the OPC UA core functionality, but also companion specifications. So you can immediately check, is my development, am I on the right track, right? And sure, as every organization, we have a marketplace. You can look for certified products. You can set filters, like if you buy at Amazon, you can set filters and say which product is supporting OPC UA or MQTT or something like that. Now the big block about collaborations is starting. I try to keep it short. Again, we are collaborating with a lot of other multipliers in the world, where they are the multiplier for a specific domain. And this is really across industry. MDIS is for robotic, it's for subsea drilling for oil and gas. BACnet is for building automation. HKI is for kitchen equipment. OpenSCS is for tracing, tracking. VDMA is for manufacturing world. It is really across industries, whatever is behind. There's a long list of the 150 plus released information models. All of them are, again, free of charge available. You can download it here from the link. And I believe it's the largest ecosystem for information models in the industrial automation world, for sure. You will have realized your own that if you start in different domains and you do standardization, then you have overlap. A robot is defining a power management interface, and an injection molding machine will also define a power management, because every device is looking for how to control us, how to access more information about consumed power. So the champions class, what we are doing is, and I'm spending quite a lot of money from my budget, is to do harmonization between these groups. So we have one full hired person, and all chairpersons of all these groups are part of that harmonization group. And so we quickly figure out, this has been defined already there, please reference from there. And do not redefine the wheel. That's my message here. Until now, this works perfectly. Just to give an idea, just last year, 2023, we released 27 companion specifications, and the list goes on. I talked a lot about factory automation and process automation, but we are heavily growing into the energy world. If we want to solve the Earth challenge on with green energy, obviously all these solar panels and all these wind turbines need to support a standard to be quickly connected to each other. Otherwise, we are not able to scale this in these areas. But again, OPC UA is in the area of production, energy production, transformation, distribution, storage, and consumption. So there's a lot happening, and here you see the areas I talked about. Wind turbines already. In the left lower corner, carbon capture and storage. That's crazy. So there are machines catching CO2 out of the air, and then it's transported via pipelines or trains or ships to Norway, and then Norway is pumping CO2 down into the earth where they before got oil and gas out of that. So interesting, these companies are earning twice money: first to get oil and gas out, and then pumping it back. But all this is where an OPC UA standard is integrated, right? So you see the pictures here. I'm not going into more details here. Another example, auto ID devices. It doesn't matter if it's a 1D or 2D barcode or an RFID reader. They all have the same information model. From an IT point of view, you are just implementing 4, 5, 6 API calls to get the variables, and then you are free to select what kind of device from which kind of vendors you like to integrate into your factory. Another example is that OPC UA is in the laboratory and analytical world, in the medical world. In the pandemic, we learned that a lot of that stuff is done manually by people, and then the probe, the COVID probe, goes from the freezer to the shaker to the analyzer, and all of that now is with OPC UA, and it's much more efficient. Devices can talk directly to each other. Industrial automation is heavily moving into these labs, and even mobile robots are moving into this to open the door and move in new probes and so on. That's all reality already. I'm super proud on this new collaboration here, the vending and coffee machine industry, the European vending and coffee machine industry. Right now, while I'm talking, they are sitting together in Italy, in Bergamo. Oh no, next week, Wednesday, Thursday, they are sitting in Bergamo to do the kickoff, and they decided to select OPC UA to have both the communication between the vending machine and the IT, but also between the components inside the vending machine, because these components inside the vending machine, the cooling system, the caching system, the providing system, are from different suppliers. So it's quite interesting. But this shows OPC UA is growing heavily out of the core industrial automation market. Again, because I'm here at the ACHEMA, sometimes you don't see the OPC UA logo because others decided, well, we are the organization, for example, Namur, it's the process companies, the Bayer, the BASF, and so on, the biggest of the world. And they have a logo called Namur Open Architecture. And behind the curtain, they selected exclusively OPC UA to exchange information from their core fields. That's the same with, on the left side, OPAF. It's a US-based association with end users. So they also selected OPC UA exclusively for their purpose. Well, everything is nice and easy if you start on a green field to build a new factory. That's why we call it greenfield. But what about the existing stuff in factories and so on? Well, then you take adapters, as we always do this, and there are adapters available which are doing the proprietary communication to the south port, and to the north port they talk OPC UA. I highly recommend that you think about not just select a protocol converter from Modbus to OPC UA. You should definitely look for a gateway which is able to host an information model. I'm the robot, I'm the pump, right? And then collect the data via underlying data. Okay, couple of last slides. There are fantastic success stories. It is amazing to see that Equinor is pushing about 1 million data points via OPC UA or MQTT to Microsoft Azure. This is about 30% of all the energy in Europe. They built up multiple plants. The platform is called Johan Sverdrup, And please read that story. It's about 30% of all our energy in Europe, and they do it with OPC UA. And they have said clearly they have never been that successful, and it's a super stable platform. But below that, we are also in the automotive industry. Renault pushing data to Google. We are in the world's largest solar panel project in Egypt. I personally love the Miele story, which you see in the right upper corner, because so to be precise, Miele is doing these washing machines and so on. It is not, OPC UA is not inside the washing machine, not till now, but it's in the production lines. But they made a fantastic success story because they explained why they have been successfully. And they sent an email to their suppliers saying, we only accept products in the next year where OPC UA is enabled. So if you have not an OPC UA enabled device asset, we are no longer buying this. And they had the luck that 100% of their suppliers supported this and are delivering OPC UA. And they even did not make the decision to equip new production lines with OPC UA. They even, in a maintenance phase, rebuilt existing production lines, kicked off other protocols, and put OPC UA in to increase security, to have a super rich information model. And they clearly say in this, we are even saving money. It was for me even really fantastic. One last one here. This will be published next Monday, this success story, but I thought this is a small teaser. OPC UA is not even in the cloud. We are in the space, in a rocket, in a civil rocket from Airbus, the European project, and they are providing OPC UA data down to Earth of inside of the machine, of the rocket. So sometimes I'm smiling and saying, we are looking from above down to the cloud, right? Okay. Good. I mentioned the CDT tool. I mentioned that we have open source with .NET code. I did not mention that we have a starter kit. This is also obviously free of charge. It is on a Raspberry Pi. Here it might be interesting that we have an OPC UA academic program, which is free of charge for professors. It's a 266 slides recorded. It's available in 6 different languages. You can steal the content. That's what we like to invite you, right? Success stories, we have podcast, marketplace, and there is an OPC Day International where you find a lot of these fantastic presentations in much more depth. Just go to the OPC Foundation web and you can subscribe. It's free of charge. That's it. I try to keep it short with the Cyber Resilience Act. Very short. We had a 2-day conference last week in Munich. The European Commissioner connected and was doing a presentation, and 30 other speakers. I just have 3 slides here, but obviously there's much more coming. So this was the Security Summit. Number 1, and I tell you, take this serious. If you do products or services, you need to be aware of this cyber resilience, because you only have 3 more years time. It is active in the year 2027, and it is nearly affecting everything. It is affecting hardware, software. It is affecting everybody who is producing something in Europe or who is exporting something from the outside world to the European market. And you cannot say, oh, I'm specifying a product right now and it has been provided to the market before 2027, so I am out of this deal. No, you are not. And there are a lot of dates inside. For example, one of the dates is you have to provide for minimum 5 years free of charge security patches immediately for your products, without charging, again, free of charge, without charging your end customer. So this has a high impact of a lot of supply chain and on the calculation, because right now this is not calculated in a lot of products. By the way, open source is also affected. The statement here, non-commercial projects including open source are not affected, is, I learned last week, is not completely true. So even if you take a little bit money that you can continue with open source, it depends, are you doing support for open source project or not? So is there an intent that this open source is becoming release quality, that people put it into their devices and you support them, then you are guilty. And by the way, you personally go to jail. So I really recommend that you get more familiar with that, for sure. Overall, there are 3 different topics. The first one is security requirements for these products with digital elements. They have to be secure by design. Security by default has to be activated. You need to protect from unauthorized access, and so on and so on. But there's also you have to provide an SBOM. SBOM stands for a software bill of material, because sometimes you have an open source package. Somebody is providing a super small open source package. This is used by another open source package to build in, and another is putting another layer on top, and then you have that. For example, OpenSSL is something what a lot of people use. And then the big question is, who is responsible for that, right? And the person who is responsible and who is selling it is responsible for everything. So even if the smallest open source package inside has an issue, you have to immediately inform your customers, and you have to immediately roll out an update. 5 years free of charge. And you also here, as mentioned, even after that 5 years, you have to inform your customers about this. So there's a lot of effort. To keep it short, on the first topic, OPC UA is taking care completely. This is a big benefit also of OPC UA. But again, OPC UA is not covering the other topics, because we don't know what is inside open source, and we obviously can't do reporting for you. Oh, now is here the slide about academic program. So again, 260 slides with different topics on addressing modeling, on service mappings, on profiles, on aggregation, pub sub, and so on, in 6 languages: Chinese, English, France, Arabic, Japanese. So, and completely recorded, so you can take the content, you can explain it to your students, and you don't have to use the blue slide master. Please steal the content, steal the graphics, and integrate it into your own slide decks. That's the message here. I mentioned the starter kit already. We believe it's OPC UA is super easy. You can do it with less than 1 hour. Yeah, and the last slide, OPC UA is a modeling language, and we believe it's a super powerfully modeling language, where you can model everything, even something which is not able to communicate. You can model a table and describe a table. We have over 150 domain information models. They are even harmonized. I mentioned that. The tool chain, there's a lot of validation tools. The models are public available. We have over 10 commercial modeling tools. And the legal frame is not to underestimate it. Having a world which nobody can sue you is really good for the industry. With that, I like to thank for your attention. Again, if there are any questions, please contact me. Here's my email, or yeah, get somehow in contact with me.
Hello. Hello. Okay, so now the Q&A session is open. So if you have any questions, you can let me know. But again, I have the questions, because I see that for your protocol OPC UA, you can use it, apply it with the Raspberry Pi. So this one means that we can use the traditional programming language, right, to do some of the programming, for example, Python or something like this, to play with it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, there are different programming languages available for OPC UA. There is something in JavaScript. There is something with Python. There's C++. It depends on which world you are. in the small embedded world where you have small embedded devices, everybody's implementing it in ANSI C, C++. I know in the IT world you're playing around with Python and so on. Yes, you can access OPC UA with Python or even just with REST calls, right? To make it simple, easy. That makes it super interesting. Definitely, you do not have a super high quick communication, but yes, you can access standardized information via these interfaces. Yes.
Okay. So yes, we get a lot of information here from your presentation, and the one of the attendees, Timo Hin, would like to, see if you can share the presentation with us, and then maybe later on, they have the questions, they can send you the email, and you can answer and so on with in
Absolutely.
email.
That's what I mentioned at the beginning. So I shared already the slide deck here. He can forward that to the audience. And if there is my email inside, and whatever question you have, please contact me and share information. Yes.
Yes, I have some more questions, but somehow the time is not allowed, because we're a little bit over time. So thank you very much. That is, we very appreciate, your talk and your information that you provide us, in the presentation. So, just get back to our service in L-DIH. I'm just going to have like only 2 minutes to talk a little bit more. So, as a competence center, we have the service available. We call the DSMA. So this DSMA is aiming to assess and understand the company's current level of digital skills. And this DSMA, the assessment is available in 5 different languages, in German, English, French, Luxembourgish, and Portuguese. So we have 2 different parts, main parts, for the DSMA. We have the, the assessment in general digital skills. And then the second part is about emerging technologies. So this one is the main part, one of the main parts, that we have in our services, in skills and trainings. So if some of you is interested in this assessment, please give me the contact. And my contact is here, jerwan.misit@competence.lu. And also you can contact Thomas Benz, at competence.lu. So that is the last one that I would like to make the promotion. And now the time is over. So I hope you will have a good lunch. And again, I would like to thank Stefan Hopper for this wonderful talk. Thank you very much.
Well,
And
thank